Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because, man, we have a fascinating mission ahead of us. We're going to literally take out our microscopes and dissect a piece of viral horror. Now, this isn't some 2-hour feature film or a massive sprawling novel. Nope. We are going to microscopically deconstruct a script for a super short, highly viral horror clip called The Living Statue. Our goal? To figure out exactly how and why it works so incredibly well to just grab human attention and hold it hostage. We're breaking down the mechanics, the psychology, the whole shebang. It takes absolute precision to pull off a genuine scare in the blink of an eye.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you terrify an audience in exactly 12 seconds? 12 seconds? I mean, that is practically no time at all. If you think about traditional horror, right? You have minutes, sometimes hours to build tension, establish characters, really cook up that sense of dread. But here, the extreme brevity of the source material, it isn't a limitation. It's actually a deliberate, highly effective creative challenge. Every single frame, every tiny microsecond has got to pull its weight. There is zero room for filler here. When you only have 12 seconds, you aren't just making a clip, you're engineering a highly concentrated psychological trap.
Section 1. Anatomy of viral horror, setting the creepy scene. Before any scare can actually land, the atmosphere has to be flawlessly constructed.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific combination of visual elements the creator demands. You literally cannot shock an audience if you haven't first grounded them in a specific, believable space. In a 12-second window, that world building has to happen instantaneously. We aren't looking at some grainy, found footage style clip here. The script explicitly calls for hyper-realistic, cinematic 8K resolution. It pairs that extreme clarity with dark museum lighting and the cold, hard texture of marble. Think about what that does to your brain for a second. That 8K clarity totally tricks you into feeling like you could reach right out and touch the stone, right? It makes the environment feel completely real. But then, that dark lighting instantly introduces this creeping sense of the surreal. It's this exact intersection, high-definition reality colliding with shadowy atmosphere, that instantly immerses us, making us completely vulnerable to what comes next.
Just listen to this quote from the opening seconds of the script. A white marble Greek god statue stands alone. Dust particles float in the air. Man, I absolutely love this detail. The script uses these microscopic elements to build this heavy, almost suffocating emotional state. Those floating dust particles, they aren't just a fancy visual effect, they're doing major heavy lifting for the story. They tell us the air is completely dead. The room is dead quiet. Nothing has moved in a very, very long time. By forcing us to notice something as tiny and delicate as floating dust, the creator is forcing our brains to just quiet down and focus intimately on the stillness. We are completely disarmed. Section 2. The 12-second escalation. Let's move to and see how this builds. We're going to totally slow down the clock.
So we've set the perfect, still, hyper-realistic scene. Now let's really look at the micro-pacing of the script. This is where the true engineering happens. This timeline is mathematically divided into 3 perfect 4-second acts. From 0 to 4 seconds, we have the setup, a perfectly still face with a slow, creeping zoom. That slow zoom acts like a magnet, right? Pulling our focus tighter and tighter. Then, right at the 4 to 8 second mark, the impossible happens. The stone eyes blink. The head turns. Notice how the horror here is entirely silent and structural. A marble statue blinking, that is just deeply, fundamentally wrong to our human brains. And finally, the climax from 8 to 12 seconds. A creepy smile, the physical spreading of cracks tearing through the stone, and then an aggressive cut to block. It's literally a masterclass in tension. It delivers the impossible, confirms the threat, and then just pulls the ripcord before we can even process what we've just seen.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real engine driving the shock value. Notice the stark juxtaposition between the initial state and the final state. We start out with a neutral face, perfectly still. It represents classical beauty, history, total inanimate safety. But in less time than it takes to tie your shoe, we are shoved into the final state, a creepy, sentient smile and spreading cracks. Actually, those spreading cracks are a really vital detail from the source script. They symbolize the literal breaking of reality. The transition from a serene, safe beginning to a shattered, terrifying end is just so rapid that the viewer's brain simply cannot catch up. And the result? A massive, visceral jolt of pure horror.
What we're really looking at here is a highly systematic manipulation of your emotions. The creator mapped out this precise 3-step psychological journey. Step 1, still. You're lured into a false sense of security. Step 2, creepy. The stone eyes blink, entirely breaking the rules of physics and plunging you straight into the uncanny valley. Step 3, unsettling. The statue smiles and cracks. It's directly threatening the viewer now, and it leaves this lingering emotional residue long after the screen cuts to black. It's clean, it's efficient, and wow, it works flawlessly on human psychology.
Section 3. The mechanics of virality. Now that we know what happens, let's figure out why it spreads like wildfire.
We've talked about the narrative events of the script, but now we need to pivot and analyze the underlying machinery. Like, why does a piece of media like this just explode online? Why does this specific 12-second clip practically guarantee shares, comments, and massive algorithmic reach? So the crucial point is that virality isn't just a happy accident. It's the perfect intersection of psychological triggers and technical formatting. On the psychological side, we have that surprise ending and the intense, uncanny, creepy factor we just mapped out. People have this innate need to share things that evoke a strong physical reaction, like a jump scare or a sudden shudder. But honestly, that alone isn't enough. Notice the technical formats here: short duration and a loopable clip. Because it's only 12 seconds, the barrier to entry for the viewer is practically zero. You don't have to commit any real time to it. And because it ends so abruptly on a cut to black, the video platform seamlessly loops it right back to the beginning, right back to the still, peaceful statue.
And that brings us to the true genius of this explainer's source material. I want to leave you with this thought. When that 12-second clip abruptly cuts to black and the loop restarts, placing you right back in that 8K dust-filled museum, the statue is perfectly still again. But your brain has changed. The first time, you were just a passive observer, but the second time, you're complicit. You know exactly what's coming. So when the loop restarts and the statue is completely still, are you already waiting for the blink? Thanks so much for exploring the brilliant mechanics of short-form horror with me today. Keep asking questions, keep looking closely at the media you consume, and I'll see you on the next one.